Hi, I'm Courtney. I am a triathlete and runner, and today I'm going to share with you a list of equipment that you should have before doing a sprint distance triathlon. So the first thing you're going to need is either a wetsuit, lava pants, or just the tri-kit that you're going to swim in. Please do not feel the need to go out and spend a bunch of money on a wetsuit when you can literally just swim in your triathlon kit. If you do opt for a wetsuit, there are many different kinds. This is a Roka sleeveless full wetsuit, which is nice because it allows you to have your arms out, which I prefer. And then you can also use lava pants. Now these are my favorite because I don't like the compression at the top during the swim, and I like having full range of motion with my arms. And so the lava pants are wonderful because they give you a little bit of buoyancy and they're a lot easier to get off in transition. The second piece of swim equipment you're going to need is a swim cap. Now, I always bring an extra one in my bag, but most likely the race is going to provide you with a swim cap because part of the way they are able to determine whether you're male, female, in certain age groups and categories is by the color of the swim cap. So usually that's included in your race fee. Perhaps the most important part of swim equipment are goggles. Now, I have gone to races and accidentally forgotten my goggles, so now I carry a backup pair with me. And I do recommend doing that just in case when you're putting your goggles on, they snap, or maybe there will be an athlete who, like me, forgot their goggles, and you can always let them borrow a pair of yours. Lastly, this is just a personal preference, but I always purchase a very cheap pair of flip-flops from Old Navy that I'm willing to part with. This is because where you walk to the swim start can sometimes be a little bit far away from your main transition area. So if you don't want to walk barefoot to the swim start, just grab a cheap pair of flip-flops. So how do you get socks on when your feet are wet and you're trying to put your socks on so you can get your cycling shoes on? It's hard and it also costs you time. So I recommend having at least a small towel there to just pat your feet down before you put your socks on to head out on the bike. Personally, I don't wear socks when I'm transitioning from swim to bike. I wait till my feet are dry on the bike and then I put socks on before the run. But having a towel in transition is wonderful, just to wipe yourself down, wipe your feet down, wipe your face off if you're sweating. Moving on to what you need for the bike portion of a sprint distance triathlon. The number one thing you're gonna need is a bike. Now, don't feel like you need a really expensive or fancy bike. For my first sprint distance triathlon, I borrowed my dad's mountain bike. The distance isn't that far, so even if you're using a gravel bike or a hybrid bike, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that you have a bike and the tires have plenty of air. Speaking of having plenty of air in your tires, most races are going to have a section or some people dedicated to helping you with pumping your tires full of air. They generally have a few of these on site and you can check your tires right before the race. Personally, I have a bike pump because what if there's not any of these available? What if they're not working properly? Or what if user error? I'm not very mechanical and I'm very comfortable with this bike pump. So I tend to bring my own just to make sure I have access to it. Next up, you will need a bicycle helmet. Now this is a Bontrager, it's very lightweight, has some great ventilation, so it's my personal favorite, but you don't need anything fancy, you just need to make sure that you have a helmet. And all helmets sold in the United States have to meet certain safety requirements. Next up, these are optional, cycling shoes. Now you're gonna use cycling shoes if you have clip-in pedals. But if you're a beginner, don't worry about cycling shoes. I personally did my first 5 triathlons in running shoes, and it makes your transition faster. So as long as you have running shoes, you're good to go. One of the more important things to remember are water bottles. Now, you're gonna need a cage or a water bottle holder on your bike. Personally, I have 2 of those, so I always have 2 water bottles full on my bike. getting started for a sprint distance triathlon, 1 water bottle is filled with water and 1 water bottle is filled with hydration. Please do not forget sunglasses. You want to put these on before you leave bike transition. Why? Well, most triathlons are going to take place in the morning. The sun is bright. The sun will be in your eyes. And also, when you're out there cruising on your bike, there can be bugs flying by, debris, whatever, and you want to protect your eyes. So what kind of sunglasses should you wear? Well, it's really a personal preference. I do recommend practicing with your glasses on when you're doing your practice rides and your practice runs, just to see what's most comfortable. Personally, these are Oakley's. I love them. I feel like you can't go wrong with a pair of Oakley's. I tend to like bright colors just because when you're on the bike, the brighter the colors, the better people can see you. But I do have a video on triathlon gear, and I compare a couple different kinds of sunglasses in different categories as far as budget goes. So be sure to check that out if you'd like more information on this or that. Now on to what you need for the running portion of a sprint triathlon. The first thing you're going to need are running shoes. So again, I recommend making sure that you're practicing in these shoes, that you're comfortable, and never wear a brand new pair of shoes on race day. The next thing you're going to need for your run equipment is a pair of running socks. I unfortunately learned this the hard way. I did a race where I was just running through transition. I thought I'll be fine without socks. And of course I got blisters. So I won't do that again. If you have quick, dry socks, definitely use those. I recommend practicing as well your transitions so you know which socks are the best. Anything stretchy that you can get on quickly is going to be your best bet. Next up is a personal preference, but hats and visors are really helpful on the run, especially on the hot days, especially on the sunny days. You just want to protect your eyes, and it also helps keep you a little cooler. Last but not least, you need to have a race belt. Now, you have a couple options here for that. You can get a regular race belt on Amazon, looks something like this, or you can use safety pins to pin your race bib to the front of your shirt or your triathlon kit or whatever you're wearing. Personally, I don't love messing around with safety pins in the middle of a race. It just slows me down and I'm not very good at it. So I do recommend investing in a race belt. It's adjustable for your waist, and literally your race number just clips right on, and you can put it on, click that belt, and head out on the run. Now, here are some miscellaneous items that personally, I believe make triathlon a little bit easier, but these are up to you, of course. First up, Body Glide. Body Glide is an anti-chafing glide that goes on parts of your body that would normally chafe. So it makes the ride a bit more comfortable. It makes the run a bit more comfortable. And personally, it'll make you a lot more comfortable after the race too. So check out these brands of Body Glide. Now for a sprint distance, the nice thing is we can keep it really simple in regards to nutrition, hydration, and gear. It's the shortest distance triathlon, and so you don't need a whole bunch of nutrition. Personally, I love Hammer Gel. I'm only going to have one with me for a sprint distance triathlon, and I'm going to take this either at the end of the bike, the last few miles, or the beginning of the run, especially on really hot days when I just need a little bit of a kick and I want to put myself into that next gear to finish strong. Electrolytes are also an option. I think with the sprint distance triathlon, you can do just fine only drinking water. If you do want to do some hydration, that's up to you. Personally, I like Tailwind. I'm going to have this in one of my water bottles. Another optional item you might want to consider is some form of a watch. A lot of people like Garmin for triathlon so they can track everything. But remember, you don't absolutely have to have one of these because you have a tracker on your ankle, and that's going to tell you your swim time, your transition time, your bike time, your run time, and your overall time. If you have longer hair, just have a few extra hair ties with you. That way, if the hair tie that you're using breaks or stretches out, you do have backups to tie your hair up. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this list was helpful for you in preparing for your sprint distance triathlon. One of the best things about these short distance triathlons is you don't need as much as you would in the longer stuff. So keep it simple. Practice makes perfect, and I wish you the very best of luck in your next sprint distance triathlon. Until the next time, rock on.